Namaste guys, ChristianRLong, Life Enhancement Consultant, giving you a big and beautiful shout out on this Wednesday afternoon here in Denver, Colorado. I wanted to jump on real quick and send some love to you guys, some sweetness, some joy, some happiness, maybe provide some insight into an area that I think each and every one of us have experienced at some point in our lives. And we're doing our stream earlier today just because. Different audience, different people are able to log on rather than watching a replay, something like that. And just finished writing the newsletter, which will be posted at 6 o'clock. Namrata, Namaste. The newsletter will be posted at 6 o'clock Mountain Time tonight. It's on Automate, but I just finished writing it. And definitely come back to the page later on tonight at 6 p.m. Read the newsletter. Let me know what you think. It's a quote from my teacher, who you see on the back wall, Grandmaster Choa Koksui. A quote by my teacher with basically a breakdown of that quote and how we can apply that quote into our everyday life, to improve the quality of our life. So I thought, what would be an interesting topic? And actually, I had a client recently. Ron, Namaste. Good to have you on. I had a client recently come on and make a request of talk about flirting. What is the energy of flirting? Where can we go with flirting energy? And it would be super interesting, but I want to have a clearer outline of what we're going to talk about relative to that topic, because I want to define it. I want to remove and dispel some illusions about that. And I think people get a tremendous amount of benefit from that topic on flirting. But not today. Something else came to my mind as I was preparing for the topic, and I thought, how many of us, at some point in our lives, whether we were a little tiny kid doing it because we saw our parents do it, or even as an adult, we have some problem in our life, a challenge, a health challenge. We found out that we've been diagnosed with a terminal illness. We find out that someone in our intimate circle is negatively affected with someone. We lose our job. We have a child that's sick. We have even a spiritual crisis, the existential question of who am I and why am I here, right? They also call it the midlife crisis, which is interesting because the midlife crisis typically happens for both sexes, men and women, in their mid-40s. And Kabbalistically speaking, the cycles of Kabbalah, we have 7-year cycles. So from 42 years old to 49 years old, we're in the Saturn period of our lives. And that's the time to go deeper into our spiritual practice. That's the time for old thoughts, old calcified ideas, old ways of being to be disintegrated, deteriorated, and brought and renewed through our spiritual practice and connection to God. So usually around that time, we have the opportunity of going within, or we have the opportunity of avoiding going within, and then we seek validation and energy from external people and things. So, the guy in his mid-40s that is questioning why he's here and what his life has been about for the past 20, 25 years, he'll say, instead of going within, he'll buy a super expensive sports car. Nadi Appa Namaste. He'll sleep around with a bunch of women, right? Or you have a woman that will question her relationships. Tanner Atman Namaste. Question her relationships with men, question her relationships with her friends, and start going, what's life all about? Why am I here? Who am I? And so everyone handles that differently, but in general, from the ages of 42 to 49, we're in the Saturn period or Saturn cycle of our lives that lasts for 7 years. So that's a time that people do a lot of talking to God. And I noticed, as I said, as children or as adults, when we have a crisis, we tend to go to God, right? We kind of hit that etheric wall or that energetic wall or the invisible wall and go, I don't know where else to go. My friends don't have the answers. My family doesn't have the answers, and I can't seem to get clarity. So that's when people start, instead of going without, they start going within, and they sit, they close their eyes, maybe they put their hands in the prayer mudra on their heart, or maybe they go out gardening or something like that, and they're just practicing stillness, and they're like, God, please help me with this. Please help me with this issue. Please help me with this challenge that I'm having right now, right? And isn't it interesting, Jeanette, I'm going to say, isn't it interesting that we do that most only when we've hit rock bottom? Most only when we've hit rock bottom. And I always found that funny that you've ever heard the term ambulance chasers? Ambulance chasers, it's a term given to attorneys that are basically like some injustice that has been done to somebody. They're always wanting to be the first person in line that's saying, you need to sue somebody. Never mind, who's to blame, who can take responsibility. It's everyone else's fault. It's everyone else's responsibility. Everyone else is to blame. So they're ambulance chasers because that's how they get their money, by suing as many people as often as possible. So that can also be said in the realm of spirituality. That can also be said in the healing arts. Even in the medical profession or medical community, it's when someone is at their most desperate, they're ready, willing, and able to hear anything and to do anything, and that doing that thing might not always be the best for that person. So it's interesting that that's when we connect to God. Paula, namaste. Sandeep, namaste. That's when we connect to God. We connect to God when we're at rock bottom. But what I don't see a lot of people doing is connecting to God all day long, no matter what is happening in their lives, whether it's bad, whether it's vanilla, mediocre, or it's amazing. I don't see a lot of celebration and gratitude for the wonderful things that are going on in our lives. And what do I mean by that? So we have fear about losing things rather than celebrating the things that we experienced with that person or with that situation or with that environment, right? And so I look back on my life and I've had a lot of amazing experiences. And I've also had some really not good, not pleasant experiences. And within the past couple years, I've shifted my consciousness from... I've been doing my meditation practice regularly for almost 20 years. But there's a degree of sincerity. Prashant, namaste. There's a degree of sincerity that I've been working on and strengthening and building up over the past few months. Not past few years, the past few months. Because, yes, I was practicing my meditation practice. Yes, I was reading spiritual books. Yes, I was attending spiritual retreats and healing retreats. But a lot of it was from the space of desperation. It was from the space of being at the rock bottom of my life and going, well, my life sucks. My life isn't going the way that I want it to go. So I'm going to plug into this school. I'm going to read this book. I'm going to attend this seminar. I'm going to do this healing technique to shift me from a not good situation into an average, ordinary, vanilla situation. But over the past 2 years, actually more than 2 years, probably about the past 2.5 years, I've made a huge transition to going from, actually, I'm in a state, to going from being begging and pleading God to get me out of this negative situation, this negative relationship, this negative environment, to being super, super grateful. Being super, super grateful. Being grateful. Just curious and thought, I bring your attention to it. Yeah. Yes, I will get back to you. Yes, I'll get back to you. Going to a position of gratitude. Because whatever you focus on expands. Whatever you focus on, you add more energy to. That's what I mean by expansion. Whatever you focus on adds more energy to. So think about this. If you focus on God when you're in your time of need, when you're in your time of desperation, there's a tendency to constantly associate God with desperation, to associate God with pain, to associate God with neediness, right? But what if you shifted your perspective to being grateful for all the things that are happening in your life, Because as you practice gratitude, it literally transforms and transmutes those lower energies of ingratitude or anger or selfishness or greed or excessive lust for power or excessive lust for sex, all of those things. When you practice gratitude, you're moving those energies up, you're expanding those energies, those beautiful energies, you're making life brighter. You guys get what I'm saying? You're making life much, much, much brighter. So my recommendation is that instead of only praying to God in your time of need, instead of only praying to God when your life is falling apart, instead of only praying to God when you've hit rock bottom, perfect. Which leads us into a great point that Prashant's bringing up. He says, I've been practicing Sharanagati last 2 days consistently, and I'm seeing much stronger connection to the teacher. I'm sharing because it relates to what you shared. What you focus on, you expand. So, within the world of pranic healing, we have a practice called Sharanagati. Sharanagati is not a pranic healing term. Sharanagati is a Sanskrit term that means to surrender. And you're saying, well, what are you surrendering to through that practice? You're surrendering the urges of your lower nature to be in alignment with the will of your higher self, the will of your teacher, whether you are aware of who that teacher is or not, the will of the great ones, and ultimately the will of God, right? So that's why it's super, super important to have a spiritual practice daily, to have a meditation practice daily, or as we're talking about in this example, to have a Sharanagati practice daily, because you're plugging in, you're connecting, you're getting fed from above versus reaching out to the external world to give you what you need, want, and desire. Does that make sense? So going back to our example of the people who are going through the midlife crisis, that crisis is a good thing because the crisis is forcing them to go within and then up versus to go outside of themselves. Because have you ever noticed when you go outside of yourself for pleasure, for joy, for insight, for clarity, have you ever noticed when you go outside of yourself for those things, Avani, Atma Namaste, you tend to be disappointed, the fulfillment doesn't seem to last, and the growth seems to be very, very slow and almost superficial. But if you're able to go within consistently and persistently, not just once a day, but throughout the entire day, you're able to transform your life in a really real, rich, beautiful way. So that's what I would encourage each and every one of you to do is, yes, pray to God when you're desperate, when you're in need, when you're feeling lonely, when you're feeling depressed, when you're feeling confused, when you're feeling lost, when you feel like you've hit rock bottom. Yes, pray to God. Absolutely. Connect to God. Meditate. There's an old saying that praying to God is talking. Praying is talking to God. Meditating is listening to God. Right? But also integrate these practices into your day-to-day life about the good things. Celebrating the good things. Really practicing deep, rich gratitude. Like, from the heart, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for the health of my physical body. Thank you for the functioning of all of my 5 senses. Thank you for the transportation that I have, or the transportation that I have had. Thank you for the friends in my life, or thank you for the friends I had in my life. Thank you for all the beautiful things that are happening right now in this very, very moment. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And expand your energy, transform your energy, raise your vibration. That's what it's... Oh, Chantel, Atma Namaste. You and I are now new Facebook friends. Good to have you on the stream. So I hope that's making sense to you guys. And because these streams go out to different kinds of audiences, some people are like, he's using the word God. I come from an atheist background. I come from an agnostic background. I come from a Buddhist background. It's okay. Don't get caught up with the words. The words are like fingers, right? The words are like fingers, but the fingers are pointing to something. Look at where the finger is pointing, not the finger. Does that make sense? Look at where the finger is pointing. So when we say the word God, what are we actually saying? Do you think I'm really referring to an old man with a beard and a white robe sitting on a cloud above us? Do you think that's what I mean when I say God? Because that's the perception a lot of people have of God, right? A personified entity that has similar traits and qualities to humans, which, think about it. So when we talk about God, we're not referring to the personified version of God. So use the language that will help you get to where you want to go. Use the language as the vehicle to truth. Tanisha, I'm a namaste. Good to have you on as always. So that being said, for those of you who are looking for healing, for looking for transformation, for looking for guidance, go to ChristianRLong.com. It's my name. That's my website. Schedule a consultation or schedule a healing directly on the website. I get it on my phone. You get it on your phone. The time is set up, and then we connect over Zoom, over FaceTime, Skype, whichever's most convenient for you. And that's it. Super, super easy. If you got value out of tonight's stream, today's stream, this afternoon's stream, whenever you're watching this stream, if you got value out of this, please share it on your personal and or professional Facebook page. And we look forward to spreading the message of light, love, and power from God and my teacher, Grandmaster Choa Koksui, because without his teachings, without his blessings and guidance, I really wouldn't have much to share with you guys this afternoon. So lots of love to you. Hope you enjoyed the topic. For future topics, please put it in the comment section below or direct message me. Love you guys very much. This is Christian Long, Life Enhancement Consultant, wishing you a beautiful day, a beautiful week, and a beautiful life. Atma, Namaste. Bye-bye.